Hello and welcome back to the One Shot Show where GMs go to level up. It has been, as of this episode, a full year of the show.
Whoa.
Yeah, we thought it was an apt time then to, I guess, celebrate that a little bit, enjoy the year that's been so far, and also look back across it. We're pulling the trousers fully down. We're showing you, I was about to say how the sausage is made, but those two sayings don't work in tandem. Come, as it were, behind the screen of the show itself.
53 episodes?
This will be episode 53.
Holy.
So we're going to talk a little bit about how the show's kind of gone over the first year, look back across it, look ahead somewhat. This one's very much for the long-time fans, isn't it, Patty?
110%. I mean, as somebody, I started out as a listener. I suppose, I wonder for you, the show's now, it's gone through iterative forms. I know that we have this incredible Google Drive full of topic lists and things. Mm-hmm. Where does the show sit now in terms of your initial vision for it back in the day?
Well, it's okay. I would say it's almost exactly what I had pictured. To be honest, the heart of the format was quite robust from the outset. I always felt, and I actually to lift the lid on that a little bit. Part of the idea behind this show was I used to listen back in the day to a whole bunch of a podcast called Writing Excuses. Brandon Sanderson, Dan Wells, Mary Robin McQuall, etc. A bunch of writers. And the whole thing was that it was a 15-minute long format. They had this tagline, 15 minutes long because you're in a hurry and we're not that smart, which is a very funny thing for someone like Brandon Sanderson to say when we're talking about the nuts and bolts of writing. But I really enjoyed it because that was roughly commute length for me, or I could listen to one and then some music. So I looked across the landscape of podcasts and I always find myself very frustrated that the shortest format for things is 45 minutes to an hour. Yeah. Many are multiple hour. When you go further into the world of D&D, you're either looking at 4-hour-long actual play episodes, or if you're out of the world of actual plays, if you're into the world of the sort of the GM advice of it all, then it's 20 to 45 minutes. And the ones that are in the sort of 10 to 15 range tend to be that length because they're playing to an algorithm rather than here's what we could do at a topic. So I went 15 minutes. We could hyper-focus on a particular topic. There's no fat. There's no time to ramble and get sidetracked. You've really got to stick to it. It can't just be, two dudes in a room talking bollocks and, every so often getting around to the topic.
Yeah.
And also, the hyper-specificity of the topics has allowed us, I think, to get way more in detail about much narrower pieces of the hobby than you can when you are doing a full hour.
Yeah. It's one of the things that I love when I look back over the YouTube and I scroll through all the videos, and now kind of looks like this Rolodex of I'm struggling with this right now, and then I'll grab at it. And not to criticize we talk about him all the time. We talk about verisimilitude. We talk about Matthew Colville. An upcoming episode will be very interested in something.
Stuff. I watch all of it, but
it's sometimes
he's not concise.
I'll read the title of his thing and I'll go man, I really love to know about that particular.
15 minutes later, he's done talking about Rush and Kate Bush.
Absolutely,
and now we're on topic.
And then we'll be locked into the topic for a little bit, and we dance around it some, and it's super engaging. But I love the commitment to the bit that we've been trying to do as best we can, which is we talk to this particular part of the topicality of a challenge that we have noticed or seen asked about a lot, or in the case of we just have a take or a stance on this that we haven't heard articulated before.
Yeah, and that's the thing. Sometimes we're not exactly breaking dramatic new ground. Sometimes we're just talking about how you might want to use more terrain at your table. Other times, I think we're getting really into. When we did, diegesis as a topic, or I know this is a bonus episode one, but when we talked about ludomechanical dissonance, these are things that I haven't particularly seen get discussed in those terms. So it's also a format that is inherently flexible because you can kind of drag drop any topic, right? We've had entire episodes that are just on different kinds of villains you might want to run, and we've had entire episodes on the business of RPGs in, the year of our Lord 2026.
I have a question for you that I was sitting on. I'm going to jump it on you now, which is, Matt, on this show, on occasion, only on occasion, there has been a topic that lights the fire underneath you. You are fire, I am water. When you think back upon the topics that have really like set a fire under the third mat, like what jumps out as you? Do any jump out at you in your memory?
I mean, the tradition of it started back with the Yes and episode way back. I think it was
which was my entry point to the series.
Oh, fascinating!
Yeah,
I think that was the second batch ever when Mock was still co-hosting, and it was just like I had this take on it that I'd actually written a while previous, and I was sort of like, this is good enough to go into the show. And I didn't expect it to be as intense and as fiery as it was, but I just sort of got underway and couldn't hold myself back. Which I would say then kind of came up again around where the fuck are the dungeon crawl rules?
Yes.
That was quite early in your tenure, I believe. Those two really stick out to me. And, like, it's not something that I'm trying to do necessarily, but there are definitely topics, and it's because I love this hobby, right? I'm very impassioned about it. There are some topics where I have a very strong opinion that I want to express as strongly as I like, and this is my platform to do that on. I will, and no one can stop me. I'm not seeking it out. I'm not looking for it. I've had accusations that I'm racking myself up for the engagement. It's not like that at all. I genuinely just feel that strongly about these things.
I think it's often useful in any particular medium or topic like we're in. Like you hear the hard, it just makes you consider your stance. Like I often enjoy when when you are mid-flow, because it just like it makes it like it causes me to consider my stance on the particular thing, and I can feel some of those some of those choices like sort of like going like, the next time I'm at table, like I know that I will consider this in a different way when it comes around. So funny.
I've got a couple to throw your way. I guess first of all, somewhat more related to that is, are there any particular topics since joining the show? I mean, you've been on the show the longest of its two co-hosts over the time, so it's don't take that any certain kind of way. But do you have a particular topic that really stood out to you as particularly enjoyable, or a moment for you where you felt like you were really kind of coming into your own as a part of the dynamic here? Anything that jumps out at you?
I don't know. I really like. It would be so interesting also like to hear any like feedback that may come out about this. But like I really love some of these things that we've been starting to do.
If you think Patty sucks, tell us in the comments.
I've been enjoying Take More Hard Stances, and I'm like, but what do you mean? I've been really enjoying some of these sort of series-based things that we've been doing where, like, I really like the providing for your players, like, idea. I think that that's something that I think we are cooking on something there that I haven't heard cooked on before. And I also feel like, I feel that is an interesting contribution that is happening in the space. Yeah, and I'm excited because it's ongoing.
Well, and that was what, like, back sort of early on at the show, you sort of talked about the master list of topics. There was sort of just this list of, like, different kind of player archetypes or sort of character archetypes, and it's sort of like, we could do an episode on each of those, and we wouldn't be hashing any particularly interesting ground. And it wasn't until you looked at that list and you're like, what if the format for those episodes is about how to cater specifically to that kind of character when it shows up at your table? And that just sort of gelled it all into place, and I think created a really, really, as you say, a great format that's now become an ongoing one for us.
Yeah, so I really enjoy that. I enjoy thinking about the anything that like prompts the longevity of the show, stuff that I go like, it will be so interesting to revisit this idea so and so months down the track, to go like, because the hobby is in flux. I also like that it feels like you and I have been making an effort to feel like we are on top of where the hobby is at right now. Because it feels like there are turning points. It feels like there are interests that are drawing away. It feels like there's a diffusion of like voices out there at the moment. And I'm just really, I'm so fascinated. We love the hobby.
Exactly. And I'm, as we name dropped Matt Colville before, but I've got a bunch of different content creators in the space that I'm always sort of generally watching and keeping tabs on, both in the sort of advice space. I'm keeping up with Critical Role this time around.
Yeah.
First time for me. I'm like all the way caught up, which never happens.
That's crazy.
And I'm not a big, this is a really bad thing for me to say, but I'm not a big listener of podcasts.
Yeah.
And yet, I am going out of my way to absorb more than usual, to sort of be part of the conversation without feeling like I'm beholden to it, because also this is our place to do our own thing and talk about the things that interest us that aren't necessarily related to the wider conversation in the RPG sphere, if you will.
Hey, do you think we'd ever go long form?
I've thought about because we've got the bonus episodes that run a bit longer. They run at about half an hour. What I've actually often felt, I felt this right from the outset, is if the show got to a place where the listener base could support it, I would want to start doing 2 episodes a week. So it's not long form necessarily, because to me, the 15-minute, it's the digestibility of that's important to me.
We mostly run to 17. We've got to match back to where we are.
We do a little bit, yeah. But it's the digestibility of that format that sort of sticks out to me. That could be your lunch break. It could be, part of your commute.
Yeah.
It can be, in the background while you're chopping vegetables for dinner. Like it's to me, that fits more easily into my life as a listener than an hour-long format does. But if you can find one lot of 15 minutes a week, you can find 2.
Yeah.
So that's at the back of my mind that maybe someday we're doing twice the number of episodes in a given month.
Yeah.
I'm certainly not short on topics for the show.
Yeah, no, the drive is really, really full. That's so cool. I was just thinking, if I had a little wish, I would love to go to more conventions.
Yes.
Especially, I feel this growing in the doing of the show. I have felt a greater desire, especially in our country, in New Zealand, to branch my table out a little bit further, because I sort of came here as like a home GM who had just done their first actual plaything.
Yeah.
And things have sort of shifted since then a little bit through being on the show.
And there is a really cool scene around it in our little corner of the world here. And it's difficult because we're a smaller country. There's no two ways about it. But in spite of that, we've got an increasingly exciting scene, I think. There's some sort of long-standing old hats like Viva La Dirt League who, sort of built themselves up separately through YouTube in related topic space long before they went into specifically D&D with Robert Hartley, who we've had on the show. And then there's a half dozen smaller scale ones of all different varieties, often in the actual play space. This is things like Fate of Eisen. I can't remember what's the one that Vahid runs? I can't remember the name of it.
That's the exact
Dice
one
Legends.
Dice Legends.
And then obviously yourself with Fury of the Small, which was such a refreshing entry to the actual play space. It was so reminiscent of classic radio shows to me that felt like it was something that actual play had been dialing toward but never quite hit.
We're going to keep down closer to closer.
Closest I'd ever come was a show called The Broadswords a number of years ago. But there is an opportunity to sort of draw it all into one place now and have a really, really cool collaborative scene around it that likewise I'm really excited to try to help build and be a part of.
We should go to the Ruckus sometime. If you live in New Zealand and you're listening to this podcast, look up the Ruckus. If you're overseas, you can't, because it's a completely offline sort of underground awesome D&D thing that they're trying desperately hard. Do you know if I say Jacob Wysocki? Do you know who Jacob Wysocki is? He's one of the dropout big comedians. They're coming here, and it's such a match with his energy. Anyway, I'm loving connecting with that scene.
Well, that's I think been a neat little preview towards what's coming next. But I guess for the big ugly question of that, what next?
I mean,
what's the future looking like what are you excited about looking across the upcoming year of this show?
I'm looking forward to, I've loved over the year that it's grown, having growing voices developing in our Discord and online, and the questions that have come through, the sponsored apps that we've done, I've really, really enjoyed. I like this thing of answering a need or answering a question, because it feels like the show ultimately should be serving a need, and when people provide it for us right there in front of our faces, I find that really provocative and exciting.
The commissioned episode that we did recently really sort of hit that vein, because it was exciting because it's kind of nice to get the topic just sort of given to me a little bit, but it immediately got me firing on, what's the most I can pack into this to really nail this topic for this person? Because, as you say, they've come to us seeking an expert, if you will, and I wanted to live up to that. And look, we've got a lot of really cool bits and pieces and plans in the works for the next year. I won't go into the absolute excruciating detail of it all. Do you have any sort of final thoughts, final reflections on your time with the show so far?
Reflections on my time with the show so far. I feel like, I don't know. I do think there's something I think there's something fascinating in this. I could label it before, like this fire and water dynamic of like what's at play. I'm excited to keep pursuing that. I just enjoy getting, to be honest, my partner always goes like, are you going to do the podcast? And she's like, oh yeah, no, great you are. Because it's like you get to talk about D&D for like an hour and a half.
Yeah.
And it's just beautiful for you.
It's great. I always come away from our sessions feeling very invigorated and excited for the next one, which is always a great feeling when you're in the content creation space. Thanks for sitting with us for this 15 minutes while we just sort of wax lyrical and sit back and look across the glory days. This has been a neat little extra for our fans of the One Shot Show. We'll see you in the next one. If you enjoyed that episode of the One Shot Show, please consider supporting us on Patreon. Go to patreon.com/oneshot show. You'll see all of the offerings available. You can commission custom episodes. You can get video versions of our regular weekly episodes. You can get monthly bonus episodes where we deep dive into particular topics. You can submit questions for our regular Q&A format. And we have a new offering that we're going to be launching this month, where at the end of each month, we will do a live Q&A session in our Discord server talking about the episodes from the most recent month. Also, for the next 3 months, anyone who backs us on Patreon will get 5 complimentary invites to our Discord server as we grow that community further. Please check it out and please support the show.